what's this one for?
This is for afro hair. If you're not in the afro wig, this is how to wear afro hair, which is a lot thicker than the other one I've just shown you. This one's actually got your tension.
So it's just two?
Yeah,
straight
just
on
two,
that one.
yeah. So basically it's just in and out, over, through, under, back through, over, back through. Because you've got a lot more hair, it's trickier for it to not fly everywhere. Especially just in and out. You would have that a lot shorter. Then you just put it together, slide it, and clip it.
That bit that's left, the shorter bit, what does that just stay there?
Yeah.
So that would just
So
be
really,
left.
that would be a lot shorter. That would be to about there.
Okay, so that would be shorter.
Yeah, yeah. Mara's better off doing the way that this one is, aren't you? I'm used to finer, finer one.
So with the hair, I mean, what hair? Because you're saying it's more for afro. Would you use
generally would use
hair?
Asian black hair.
But that's quite straight. So is that just to make like straight
Yeah.
waves?
What you're doing is where you're twisting it, it'll then be boiled and it will then be baked. And then what you do is on your ends, where you should have a small amount of turnover, which is here,
Yeah.
a lot smaller than that's there. You pull it off, and where it's been boiled and baked, it comes off, and it's just like afro hair because it's been boiled and baked. It's not permed. So what you're doing by doing that is creating an afro look, basically. On each section, when it's been boiled and baked, you pull off your end, and all that hair that's been woven is curly.
But does that then come up? Because if that's your wax on those two pieces, so then it's so it goes through a process then afterwards of being boiled and baked. Is it still on the string as a piece of side? So how's that bit that's in between? Where it just comes out, does it come away?
Comes away, you just pull what you do on each section of hair, go down even right to the tip. So you take it, right to the very tip. So you wouldn't have these ends as such here. That's it. So you just twist it, sorry, in and out.
Basically the whole piece is twisted in and out.
And in between each section of hair, you'll have a tiny bit at the end, at the beginning, which should be about half an inch left out, and that's the bit that you would pull for your turnover, which you're cutting out, to be left with your afro hair in the piece. So if you want a big afro, you'll have to use longer hair. If you want a small afro, obviously the smallest amount of hair that you can use is 6 inches. So 6 inches being the smallest amount. You don't lose that much on length, believe it or not. The hair just frizzes, but it's not damaged. Okay, so that's it. So if you were doing a full piece, you'd be doing a lot of weaving. And each section, you've got this part here. You'd cut off your end here. This part is where you're knotting with, so there's your turnover. And you'd pull it off the string when it's been boiled and baked. And then you're left with the section that's been wiggled around is your afro, and this part here, which is straight, is the piece for your end, and you do your knot, which you've been doing down
I'm
there.
struggling with the concept of, because that's attached, so when
Yeah.
it's boiled and baked,
Slides off. So these strings are cut off,
yeah.
and you've got a length of weaving, and each section,
So that's how to make it, and then would you attach it
then you knot it onto a hairpin.
onto a hairpiece?
Yeah.
Right, I was thinking
Yeah.
that was the way.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't get the
Yeah.
concept of that
Yeah.
was going to be the piece that
No,
you were
you're
using.
pulling each piece of this
You're
off.
actually making it.
You're making the
Making the
afro hair.
Right. Oh, interesting that. I didn't realise that you would do that.
Yeah, because
So why
if you
can't
cut
you
off,
use
because if you cut off afro hair, it's all bitty. So when you're trying to get hair,
conditions just not
it's all
good
just going to
for
fall
it.
apart, and you're
Right.
going to absolutely
So
no
you
hair
have
there.
got to make
so
it.
you've got to make it, but generally, obviously, it's the black hair. I mean, again, if you're using, you want sections of grey. Through the pattern matching part of everything, you'd use black Asian hair, and you would mix part grey through it. And you've got different shades of black, so depending on how black that hair is depending on what shade of black you actually use. 'Cause, I mean, I don't know colours in hairdressing at all, but you would start with a 1, 1B, 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s, I don't know.
Colour chart on light
that's
medium
it.
to dark,
Yeah,
to
so,
dark.
and you can go up to browns. I mean, we can add a section of brown to black, so that all comes in the mixing of the hair and how we've done the sample to the customer that's come through the door. But we do a few where they've got grey hair, so we would mix a percentage of grey through this. We wouldn't have a section of grey and then the black, it's mixed together and then it's done on here. But each section, when it's boiled and baked, you literally pull that, and just that one section that you've woven here will come off. Then you pull again and you pull again. But you don't want to do this too thick, because obviously, as you can see over there where you're holding the hair, you don't want too much, because everything you break off of here, you've got to hold and you've got to knot with.
Right.
And this here is, like I say, this part, because obviously it's going to be straight and the rest of it's going to be curly, this is your turnover. So when you cut out your turnover, you're cutting out the straight bit, and the rest of it afros up.
Can I just ask with the bobbins, if you like, on that side, the three?
Why only two?
Yeah, oh, why? Because there's three on that other one. There's two
That's
on
a
that
three
one.
stem switch, so you're weaving in between. This is two stems because it's literally just up and down,
create
up and
that
down
curve.
to
Yeah,
cause a
in and
frizz.
out, in and out.
And if you were doing a diamond mesh, which I said to you earlier, which makes the diamond mesh, or a martu, which is basically a piece of weaving that goes straight across. But because you've got the wire, which is in the middle one here, it allows for your bending, but it's very, very fine wire, so it allows you to manipulate it where you want it to and make diamond shapes, because obviously these are not going to make any shape whatsoever, so you need the wire in
So
between.
it's the wire in between the amount, the 1, 2,
Yeah,
3,
and the
4,
wire always goes in the
creates
middle.
you different
Yeah.
looks.
For what you want to do at the end.
On holiday in the summer to Istanbul, make carpets,
Yeah.
the pile, and it's ready
Yeah.
to fashion it along.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
I mean, if you,
Especially
whatever,
it's a long, yeah.
Well, what you
What
start doing is actually come around. I mean, Anne ties and we wrap above the nail. Some people would go below the nail, but we go above. A lot of people would do strings for the amount of strings that they want. We are constantly weaving, so what we do is we wind as much on here as we possibly need, so that when we cut it, it's still there to the next lot.
So you could just keep going and going.
Yes.
Would you like a long
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
keep
it.
going and going and unwind
So
it.
you're winding
Oh, it
that
winds
round.
on.
But we would pull this up here, and we would keep the weft coming above there.
Right, so you could just sew in, it doesn't have to be a small
No,
piece, it's going to be a really long
It
piece.
can be
but
as
it'll
long
all
as you
end
want.
up-
If you wanted a finished length of say 6 inches, then you need to do about 7 inches of weft, because this is being stretched for tautness. As soon as you release it, it will shrink in about half an inch. If you've got a wire in there, then it won't shrink, because the wire obviously isn't going to shrink back. So with the wire, you do the exact, maybe a tiny bit little, 3/4 of an inch or whatever. But on this, you definitely need to do at least an inch. And the more you do, if you were to do 15, 16 inches on one piece, then actually it probably stretched a little bit more, so you might need to do 1.5 inches. If you're just wanting a finished length of 5 inches, then do 6 inches. Yeah. You can do a lot with it. I mean, the what they're doing over there and where they're weaving, on a head, you would measure each point in the head that you wanted to make a weft. Generally, it's 4 inches from the back. So you do 5 inches of weft, and they can be sewn in to the back of the head.
That's literally all they've got to do is the
That's it.
weft, and then they can just clip it into place.
So you can either put clips on the end, or where you've tied it off, you can actually get threads, and you can thread between your hair.
The braid,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
braid, yes.
Braid the
yeah,
hair and then
yeah.
sew that.
Yes,
with
onto it.
same cord, with a darning needle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Darn through and sew that onto the braid. I mean, yeah, that's what the majority of people do with their braids, and they sew them wet,
Yeah.
line and line after it, because they're really tight and it takes a long time for it to grow away from the head. Or they get a foundation and they actually sew these wefts onto a foundation instead of having what they call a wig, drawn through wig. They generally do loads of wefts and they build them up on a piece, and then they put that on top of the head. So they use different methods
Of doing that.
yes, rather than
Yeah.
a wig. 'Cause
Yeah.
somehow the fact that it's made differently doesn't, the concept isn't that it's a wig. I don't understand.
Is there anything else on that one that's different to that one?
That's
Apart from
the
the
three
string?
string. No, not at all.
Because that's the one I
That's
think
what
we'll
you're
be doing.
weaving. That's what you're doing. That one really just
To show that's the one that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right.